What if I told you that you're caught in a cycle that's dictating every outcome of your life and also dooming you to repeat those patterns over and over again? Would you immediately feel better if I also told you that whether you stay caught in this cycle is entirely up to you? Knowledge is power, and that's never been truer than it is in this scenario. So in this video, I'm going to explain the steps of the thought and belief cycle that is dictating the outcome of every action you take, the 2 keys to becoming the master of your thought cycle instead of being the victim of it, and how harnessing the power of thoughts, beliefs, and actions can take you from where you are to where you want to be by empowering you to change the old beliefs and stop repeating patterns that are keeping you stuck. Your beliefs shape your reality. Everything begins with your core beliefs and works its way around to the experiences you have as a result of every action you take because of those beliefs. The steps along the way look something like this. And what ultimately happens is that the experiences you have will either reinforce or undermine the belief that you started with. This is how old beliefs get ingrained in you, and it's why you've been repeating the same patterns over and over again. And our brains are wired to reinforce those old beliefs. We don't like it when our core beliefs are challenged, so our minds are constantly seeking out ways to double down on the old beliefs that are already ingrained in us. You might be wondering how it can be possible that you aren't aware of your own thought and belief cycle while it's happening. So the first key to unlocking this cycle and harnessing its power happens between what you believe and what you think. This is where you actively change old beliefs and create new ones that will make it impossible to keep repeating old patterns. Skipping this part will leave you in a spiral of emotional decision making that will keep you stuck where you are instead of taking you to where you want to be. When anything happens in your life, your core beliefs are behind the scenes, ready to skip right over rational thinking and make you feel a certain way about whatever it is that happened. Your opportunity here is to interrupt that circuitry and insert a pause that basically overrides whatever reaction your core beliefs tell you to have. And in that moment of pause, you get to choose what you're going to think about what happened instead of skipping to a knee-jerk emotional response. This is so important because what you think determines what you feel. And if you're letting your core beliefs, which most of us are blind to, dictate how you feel, and therefore the actions you take, you're going to continue having experiences and creating events in your life that reinforce your current patterns and old beliefs instead of helping you to create new ones. This brings us to the second key in unlocking the thought and belief cycle, and that is figuring out the core belief that's currently in control. Our core beliefs are something deeper than what we believe about what's in front of us. So core beliefs are at the root of everything you think. Think of them as every belief you have reduced to their very essence. If your core belief is the soil that all the rest of your beliefs grow from, what would it be? And how do you figure out what it is? So there are lots of exercises you can do to identify your core beliefs on a topic. So the easiest place to start is to identify an emotion that you're feeling because of a given situation. For example, you realize you feel nervous or anxious about something. And the first question that you would ask yourself is, what do I believe is true right now that is making me feel this way? And then you answer yourself. So let's say in this example that you feel afraid because you're nervous you're going to upset or disappoint someone. So the next question that you would ask is, what do I believe is true that makes me think I'm going to upset or disappoint someone? Now pay attention to how this question is phrased, okay? It isn't asking, why do you think you're going to upset or disappoint someone? The response to that question might be something like, I feel like if I tell them no, they're not going to like me. But if you have to answer the question, what do I believe is true? The answer will be different because we're targeting your old beliefs. So do you recognize how much more powerful the second answer is? The first answer just stirs up more emotions because you're focused solely on how you feel instead of figuring out why you feel that way. And to figure out why we experience certain feelings, we need to walk it back to the old beliefs that are driving the thoughts that lead to those feelings. So you would continue this exercise, conducting this sort of Q&A with yourself until your responses become repetitive or are so distilled that you know you've struck gold. So now common core beliefs will usually come in some variation of whether or not you believe you're good enough, whether or not you believe you're lovable, whether or not other people are inherently good or bad, and things like that. So let's say in our example that the back and forth eventually drills down to a core belief of not being good enough. Now let's look at how this plays into the thoughts and beliefs cycle and how we can change that old belief fast. So if you begin from a belief that you are not good enough, when a life event happens, that belief is already at work in your mind. You already think you're not good enough, even if you aren't consciously telling yourself that. So if you don't get a job you applied for, or someone doesn't want a second date with you, you're going to feel badly about it. Your core belief doesn't need to ask why you didn't get the job or why you didn't get the second date. That old belief has already decided that it's because you're not good enough. So what action are you going to take when you feel badly, discouraged, or sad? Are you going to put yourself out there for the next promotion or be excited to get back on the dating apps? Probably not, right? So let's say the action that you take is to pass up on the next job application or the next networking event because you're feeling discouraged. What's the outcome of that going to be, right? You're going to be exactly where you started, which works to reinforce the old belief that you aren't good enough. Likewise, if you abandon ship on the dating apps, at that point, there's no possibility of creating a new pattern where the dating apps are concerned, so you stay stuck in the spiral of thoughts that confirm your old belief of not being good enough. So now let's back up and suppose instead that after you don't get the job or the second date, you interrupt that circuitry and ask yourself if it's really true that you're just not good enough, or if perhaps you don't have all the information. Maybe there was an internal hire that was chosen over you because of nepotism, even if they weren't as qualified. Maybe you didn't get the second date because they didn't like your perfume, or you reminded them too much of their mom, or something else completely outside of your control. When you can stop and ask yourself if you have enough information to actually think that you not being good enough is the reason that something happened, you will nearly always be able to see that there is more to the situation. And once you see that, you can decide what you think about it. You can change that old belief in an instant and decide to think instead that you actually didn't get that job because maybe you didn't have the experience they were looking for, or you just weren't a good fit for their company, or the hiring manager just didn't like you. You can decide to think instead that you didn't get the second date because of something that had literally nothing to do with you and shouldn't change your perception of yourself at all. And thoughts like that are going to result in a much different feeling than the thought that grew from your core belief, right? And the best part is interrupting this circuitry can happen in a matter of seconds. You can decide to change what you think about a situation fast and start creating new patterns for yourself. So the next time you see that job listing, or are invited to a networking event, or get a notification on a dating app, you'll still be excited by it and be willing to put yourself out there. And doing so is going to result in totally different outcomes than if you'd given up because you continued to believe that you weren't good enough. And those outcomes will change the old beliefs fast and replace them with new ones. Working this process is what allows you to harness the power of the thought and belief cycle and take you from where you are to where you want to be. Because look, if you want to be someone who consistently puts themselves out there, excels at their career, and has a large network, you cannot start from a belief that you aren't good enough. You need to learn to interrupt your circuitry, decide to believe something better, and watch how the outcomes will erode those negative core beliefs that are holding you back. This will put you in the driver's seat and give you back your power over the direction of your life. If you found this video helpful, I would love to have you subscribe for more life tips on how to try less and do more. Tap the like button and share with a friend, and I will see you again soon.